And go.
Aliens on the border.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found.
Faster than light, spaceship of the future.
Our direction of the President of the United States, stay in your home.
Is it human or inhuman? Earthly or unearthly?
Born in that swirling inferno of radioactive dust, there is no word to describe them.
We may be witnesses to a biblical prophecy come true.
Why is it that we usually ignore the fourth dimension?
Is this the human race of the future?
Aliens on the border.
Hey, yo. Whoops. Whoops, my bad. Anyways, what's up, people? I hope you guys are feeling all right on this Thursday night. Another episode of Aliens on the Border, straight from the motherfucking cosmic ether, straight out the fourth goddamn dimension, with a Corona premiere in my hand. We're not plugging them. It's just a refreshing beer. But anyways, how you guys doing? Today we got a very special guest with us. As always, Roger, rocking the co-pilot.
Hola.
I hope you don't fall asleep on this one.
No. I'm actually I'm pretty energized. I had some really sugary Starbucks bullshit before this.
Nice.
So I'm good to go. And yeah, as always, Mr. Josh. Just kidding. We're taking it back and forth. We've got a very special guest with us today, Mr. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Diego Canales. You guys know me on Instagram as Ozotso. I used to be called Obobobo before that.
Obobobo?
Yeah, I did change my name, or I changed my name for like tagging purposes, and that's my introduction.
The artist man himself, Diego Canales. What's going on, bro? How you doing?
Pretty good. I've been keeping myself busy like since December of like last year, and things have been coming up. Things are looking very well, so I've been producing like a nice amount of work.
That's pretty good, man. I like hearing that. I love when people from here get on their shit, or so to speak. Not to be so crass or in any way, shape, or form, but that's fucking dope, man.
Yeah,
How did you? I want to dive into like what is Ozotso.
Okay, so prior to that, I would have like different names, and I would use them mostly for like gaming, Steam accounts and PlayStation. But I started like making these names that didn't really mean anything. So my first name was Mubofu. That was in high school, and then later on I moved to change it to Obobobo, which I kind of started like I made the name like with the idea that I was going to start tagging that, and I never really went about doing that. And then recently, it was like 2017, right? I think it was 2017 I started, or 2018 I started dating Audris, and I was like, oh, I should change my name, and we were like talking about a few things. And Ozotso is actually based, it doesn't mean anything, but it's based off the pronunciation of a Japanese word. I think it's Ozotsu, and it means like a cannon. And
it means what?
Like cannon,
like big cannon.
Oh shit!
Yeah. I'm gonna fire a shell out of this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like this that kind of cannon, right? So whenever I started practicing, I would mess up the last word, or the last letter. I'm sorry, and I would spell out Ozotso by accident. And I thought it was pretty cool because it is like I already stripped away the meaning out of that word, and it's just its own.
You made it your own thing.
Yeah.
Your own moniker.
Yeah, and that's how it started. And then I started doing variations of the tag. I have Ozotso, and then I have Ozotsotomo, which is like I'm merging my name with the name of Katsuhiro Otomo. He's a writer and illustrator for Akira.
Oh shit!
And
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. So, and it makes my tag a lot longer, and I love writing. So, it's really really nice to like write it all out.
I like it. I dig it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Japanese fusion.
So
yeah.
You recently had or you still have an exhibit up at Schwartz Gallery, Matsumoto's gallery. We've had on the episodes on an episode before, and it was based off of East Asia.
Yeah, it's East Asian art, and it's they're ink wash paintings, and it's something that I would see. I did travel to Korea, Japan, and China, and this is like the prominent, a prominent like art style in Asia, and you really do see like mountains like that where they're like super steep and they're high, and I did see some of those on my way. When I was in Korea, I took a bus from Seoul, the capital, to another big city called Busan, and in the bus I did see a lot of these like super nice landscapes. And then the same thing when I was in China, I went from Beijing, I took a bus to the Great Wall of China, and I did see some of these like mountains as well. And then I went to the National Museum of China, and they have huge like ink wash paintings in their museum. And there's one artist that I look at. His name is Cheng Ming. He is the dad of a really big artist right now on Instagram. Her name's Little Thunder, and I look at his work a lot, and that's kind of like what I base my style from. But I try to like introduce like new things. So I use an ink bar and that I mix with water, and I also use graffiti materials like spray paint and like graffiti markers and these like very dark like petroleum based inks in combination.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that you're really into like the Asian culture?
Yeah.
When did it all start for you, man?
It all started in middle school. I'm gonna do a shout out to my friend Dario. He like introduced me like into like anime and stuff like that. Well, I knew about anime before. I mean, I was all into like Dragon Ball and like Knights of the Zodiac before that, but like anime, it was because of him. I would also play like Korean MMOs in middle school, Ragnarok Online, and it was like I've always been interested in Asia in general.
So your art, what did you say? It's like influenced a lot from Asian culture and did you say like video games kind of bleed into that? In any sense?
Yeah, of course, definitely. Like I've been playing video games for a really long time, but I try to look at what you like, not video game art, but what the video game artists like look at. You know, I'm pretty sure they have like a good like they know their art history, and so I kind of try to understand what kind of like background they have, not to like mimic their style, but also to see like what they went about like reading up, like what kind of research they did to like make these characters and stuff like that.
You were gonna ask something?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. When you were like traveling in like Eastern Asia, did you do all of that at one time together?
So the first trip I took to Asia was in Korea. I was an engineering major in college, and I was supposed to go take engineering classes in Korea, but at that point I was too far away from like home, and I was like, I said fuck that, you know, like I'm gonna switch it up, and it was a pretty ballsy move, but I just took all art classes, and like that's the beginning of like my artistic career. I think that's where I completely started like producing a lot of work. And prior to that, I would help my brother out. He was a fine arts major as well, and when I was in high school, I would help him out with some projects.
So a lot of people, well, I mean, a lot of artists in general, when I hear them talk about when they were first kind of, I guess, convinced that they were into art or that they consider themselves artists, mm-hmm. They were young, they were in, you know, they're like adolescents or whatever. So did you discover that later, or was that something that you always had in your head? Because you said, I mean, you went over there with the intention of taking engineering classes, but had you already been doing art or into it?
Yeah. Prior to that, like I was already like involved in it, like with my brother. Like I would help him out. Before that, we would get a lot of like art history books that would come around my house, like Frida Kahlo, Goya, Botero. Like they would just arrive at my house, and like me and my brother would just like look at that. And I would draw a lot too when I was a kid, and in middle school I also started learning some like paint shop programs and like digital like art and stuff like that.
Oh, so what started first, a technical skill or like digital stuff?
I think when I started, it was mostly drawing when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would do that a lot. Like I would do like a lot of tracing And like again, it goes back to like the video games. Like I would get like these like Nintendo Power magazines, and like I would like trace. So like even as a kid, it's funny because like I had like a system going on where like I would get a light, we would put it under the table, and you would like it's a glass tabletop, and and like it's your tracing like
a tracing table. Yeah.
So like a very like DIY since I was a kid, you know.
Josh, did you have something to say? I feel like you were waiting to fire one off, and I didn't want to.
No, yeah, I was just thinking about like how was it, dude? Like that experience. Are you from here, from Laredo?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Laredo, and when I was around, well, like I started first grade here, in Laredo.
So kind of like half raised here for the mostly raised here, right?
Yeah, mostly raised here.
So that's what I wanted to touch on. Like, what was it like, man? Just being in Korea. I mean, I want to touch more on like Japan and everything, but like when you initially got there, dude, like what were the feelings that you felt, man?
It was tripped out. Like it was like a delayed effect because when I got there, I was still like I didn't feel no thrill, you know. Like I expected to get there and be like, and just like trip out. And, and then like it didn't hit me till like a few weeks later. I was like, whoa. And it's a change. It's a huge change. Like I didn't really travel around like in high school and stuff like that. Like I've never been to New York, LA, so like it was my first time being like in a big city, and it was awesome. Like I loved it.
Did you experience any sort of culture shock?
Oh yeah, of course. It was super badass because like everything's in Korean. I learned how to like read the Korean alphabet, and I don't know Korean at all. Like it's pretty difficult, but like you just try to survive and like get around. It wasn't that difficult. Everyone's nice. It's pretty safe. But yeah, culture shock for real. And like it's a big city. It's still like you see some diversity, but it's
I mean it's predominantly like Korean.
Predominantly Korean.
It's pretty weird, man. Like if you think about what type of characteristics like at least the South Korean fucking society has, or whatever you want to call it, their culture, I guess. They have like mandatory military service.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right? So it's like that already just makes everyone a little bit different. I don't know if it works to like diffuse maybe natural tensions or angst and stuff that we express here in our type of culture, especially because I don't know, being a Mexican American here, I've never been off of the continent, you know, like I've traveled deep into Mexico, like some of my family is from like Guadalajara and stuff, so I've been over there, and I mean the culture shock is like not really there other than the size of like the city where you're like, oh shit, this is fucking huge, right? But like I could just imagine like the written language is fucking looks like hieroglyphs or like some alien language and shit, you know? Like,
it's really cool. I'm all about like the way the characters look. So like I do practice like randomly like Chinese and Japanese calligraphy. Like I don't know what I'm writing. I try to look up like the kanji and what it means, but it's like brush strokes and making everything look nice. And calligraphy out there is like amazing. I love watching like people do the like Asian calligraphy, and then Korean is like a very interesting like once you start getting like experience and start looking at the differences between like the characters that each country uses, like the Korean alphabet is pretty unique.
It starts becoming like more distinct, and distinguishable.
I think it's a lot more simple than like a lot of the East Asian like the Mandarin characters, or the Chinese characters, and the Japanese characters.
I imagine like the way that the language is simply written must have like such a huge impact on artistry in general over there, you know? Because like I mean, at least in the English language and even in the Spanish language, it's also very like rudimentary, just a couple of lines to make letters. And I mean, again, when you look back at their form of their writing itself, it's not easy, you know? Like it's very it's distinct, like I mentioned. It's like, whoa, what the fuck is this?
So it's cool because in Korea, like and all of these like East Asian like countries, like the Chinese characters is what dominated like across all of that. So you see Chinese characters in Japanese, and in Korea, before they made the Hangul, which is like the characters that they have now, they would use Chinese characters as well. But I think I might be wrong, but from what I remember, I think there was an emperor that he designed the Hangul, the Korean, like the contemporary like Korean language and alphabet, to help people with like illiteracy.
How long were you in Korea?
I was there for around 5 months.
Okay. Now, after that, did you come back to the States, or did you hop over to like another country on that side?
Well, when I was in Korea, I took advantage and I took a trip to Tokyo. I was in Tokyo for a week. And then after that, I came back. And it was like the saddest thing ever. Like, I was so stimulated over there that when I came back to Laredo, it was...
Damn.
Yeah.
The opposite of the culture shock?
Complete opposite. Like, reverse culture shock.
For real.
What were your interactions with people like over there? I mean, like, I would imagine that like you obviously had to, communicate at some point with some people, or like, what was it like? I can't imagine myself in that position and see how it's like, it's so easy to just talk to people here and ask people, and going over there where there's like such a major language barrier, and I mean societal and cultural barrier too. What's it like interacting with people like that?
People like are generally nice, and like they'll make an effort to try to communicate with you, even if they don't know English or if I don't know Korean. But the program that I went to, like, you still meet like international students.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a roommate that was from Taiwan, and he had his friends, and like we had friends from like Singapore, we had friends from China, from Hong Kong. And it was pretty nice. And
they served as your translators.
Not really, because they didn't. I think some of them didn't know Korean either, but like we did like exchange a lot of like the cultural stuff, which was pretty nice. And like I did also meet like local Koreans, and they were also nice too. Like they were showing me around. I had a friend named Suji that she came to Tamiyu for a bit, and when I went to Korea, she had already gone back, so I met up with her. She actually helped me out translate the poster for the recent exhibition in Korean.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm. We can kind of transition into that, like your exhibition. So it's obviously influenced largely by your time in East Asia. What's the I guess what do you like? Because I bought some prints.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I owe you like $5, I think, for one of them. So remind me.
Yeah, of course.
I bought some prints because I was kind of like I always have this like experience with art in general, and when I was there, like looking at the pieces that you had up, a lot of them to me was just like I don't want to like spin it to my language, but like it felt like a second coming of age, like being in a different area and drawing influence from that. Like what was it about for you?
So for me, it was about like once I came back from China, because I went to Korea first, and then I went to China like a year later, or like 2 years later actually. And I guess I put this, like, I did research on some like Asian topics and like made some like Asian based work. But then I took a trip to Germany. After a while, I went to Germany and Belgium. And I started looking at more like European and like Western art, like manuscripts, and then like Renaissance paintings and like composition, and like I got really caught up on that. And after a while, like I felt like I was like, yo, like if I keep doing this, I'm gonna forget about like the experiences that I had over there. So a good way to like kind of
immortalize it.
Yeah, immortalize it, and also just like. By doing those paintings, I took myself back to like where I was.
That's cool.
So I wanted to make work, and like I wanted to make work where you can go into these you can go into the gallery, the Schwartz Gallery, and feel like you're in an Asian, like you're in a gallery like in Asia. There's a Chinese district in Beijing. It's called 798. It's their art district. And there's just a bunch of like small like galleries with different work. So I kind of wanted to like fill up the space with that kind of work, where you feel like you're there, like you're not You're not in Laredo. You're not looking at like the traditional like border art, and it takes you somewhere else.
Yeah, I definitely felt that when I was looking at it, and it was also I guess one of the things also that we can get into is your art wasn't just the the ink paintings that you had there. It was also the ceramics, and you did you had a sake set that you made yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about that, man, because I know you can actually you so those of you who maybe don't know, Diego's got a GoFundMe, which we'll plug. That's still running, right?
Yeah, I'm still doing that.
And Diego experiments with different formulas, and you can jump in at any time to correct me, but experiments with different formulas and needs funding to help continue his experiments and I don't want to call them experiments. You can talk about it.
Okay, so
and sound like a mad scientist.
Yeah, it's cool that we're gonna talk about this because this is aliens on the border, you know. So this ceramic research that I'm doing is based on Martian material.
There you go, man.
So
in what way? What do you mean? Elaborate.
So
that sounds crazy.
There's a little bit of a backstory, but I was like, I think I had just graduated, and it was a summer, and I had just finished this Jordan, the shoes base project, and that was my final project before I graduated. And I was like, what do I hop on now? And I was watching it was Elon Musk presenting his new rockets, and he was talking about a multi-planetarian species where he wants to colonize Mars and have humans there. And I was just tripping on that, and I was like, I wonder if you can get Martian soil and make clay out of it, because you can make clay out of any kind of dirt. You can dig up dirt from your backyard and make some bowls out of it. So I started looking into that. I emailed NASA, and I was like, hey, where can I get my hands on this? And they directed me to a company in Austin, and NASA uses this Martian soil simulant. It's not soil from Mars, but they get soil from this material from a quarry over there by California, I think, or in the Mojave, right? And it has a similar composition as Martian soil. So I got my hands on that, and I'm making clay based on that material.
Damn, dude, that's pretty fucking crazy.
That's actually really fucking cool, dude. Talk about that, it's a so and so that you were inspired by that because of Elon Musk and his trip over there. Yeah, man, that's pretty cool. And what do you so what's the so your GoFundMe is for
paying for the soil.
Yeah, just getting materials, paying for studio fees. And at this point, I get the soil. I try to formulate some glazes and some clay. I've already formulated a clay formula where I just add it's one part this Martian soil simulant, and then another part is refractory clay, and I just mix it up and 50-50 add water, and you got yourself some
cool
multi-planetarian clay.
Multi-planetary clay.
Multi-planetary civilization.
You are a fucking mad scientist. That's what it sounds like. Very cool, man. So going back a bit, because I know I kind of took it off a bit, but your work with ceramics and paint, what is that like? How does that correlate with each other? Is that something that you got to do something with your hands, or what's the inspiration behind that?
I mean the ceramic, it's hands-on. It's getting your hands dirty. It's getting dirty in general. Compared to painting, I think you can maintain yourself a bit cleaner and a little bit more organized. But I throw clay on the wheel, so you can get some real nice and straight forms, real sharp stuff.
Do you like sake?
Oh yeah. I'm all about that stuff.
I think I've only had the shitty sake at fucking a couple of ramen houses in Austin. I mean, I don't know if it was shitty, right? But I was like, yeah, I mean, I got it. And, people were like, that ain't real.
Well,
that ain't that good shit.
Yeah, that's what I buy. Like they sell that like $6 big bottle of sake like at HEB, and
Dude,
that's good enough for me, man.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Like I don't need to go to like Specs and like get
a fucking $100 ass.
Because I think I bought this sake. It was called G sake, and it was like a $30 bottle for like very little. And then I bought this like HEB sake, and it was just as good. It did the job. You know?
That rice wine, baby. You ever had sake, Roger?
I did once at a Korean barbecue. The place there on Del Mar. Park? Yeah, I had what did I have? I had a Korean wine. Excuse me. I had Korean wine, and I had a hot sake there.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've had hot sake once too at like a fucking PF Chang's. I don't know. So probably like no big deal, whatever. But I'm into sake, dude. I'm into like liquor in general.
Mm-hmm. So, right. Yeah. So all types.
Have you ever had like I think it's Japanese whiskey?
Oh yeah, Suntory makes a really really good Japanese whiskey. It's really good.
Dude, I recently had some like this past. I think it was Christmas. We like got together. That fucking party I told you to go to. You didn't fucking go.
I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah,
I'm probably bullshit.
Fucking Smash.
Yeah, video games, right?
No, but anyways, one of my homies pulled up and he was like, "Check this shit out. I got the fucking Japanese whiskey." I was like, "Oh shit, all right."
Fresh from Japan.
Fresh from Japan, dude. I'm off the plane and shit. Dude, going back to like traveling towards East Asia. When was it that you went back to Japan, and how long did you stay there? Was it just that one trip to Tokyo, or like?
Well, like that trip to Tokyo when I went to Tokyo, it was the same trip where I went to Japan. To Korea. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So when I went to Korea, I bought tickets to go to Japan. Like they were cool. It was like $120 plane ticket.
Oh, nice. That's not bad.
Yeah. And like I just took like a backpack and like a towel to like shower and stuff, and that's it. And it was cool. There's an area like I stayed in an area. It's like 2 train stops from Akihabara. It's like the anime and like video game like district. So like I would go there like almost every day before I started my day. So like I would wake up, like I would go get something to eat, go there, like play some arcade games, and like go around, like see what I can do there, and then like I would go to the rest of like try to see other stuff in Tokyo.
Who had the best food?
Oh shit, that's a whole topic, man. Yeah, that's good actually. Yeah,
homie, baby, who had the best food?
The best food. So, Korean food is super good, and like you get a lot of bang for your buck, and it's delicious. Japan is like a little bit more expensive, but it's like top quality like seafood. It's really really delicious. You get like your real fancy like sashimi and like super delicious ramen. It's badass.
What's it like going over there, trying that stuff, and then coming back and like comparing it to like Laredo sushi or the other ramen place that we have here? Like,
don't get me wrong, like I don't.
You don't discriminate.
Yeah,
don't discriminate.
Like,
food's food.
I love that like Laredo sushi, man. Like it's delicious. Like if it's fried, it's all good. Like I love it. I know like it's like probably a slap in the face like to
like the
Japanese
legit
gastronomy.
I heard I actually had a friend who had lived in Japan for a good while, came back and said like, dude, everything here, like anywhere you're at in Texas and you try to get sushi, it's like always like Americanized / Mexicanized. Like you'll never see over there they fucking add aguacate into it, like avocado and
there's a fucking
chicken, dude. Like that shit's unheard of over there, dude. Like over there,
what the fuck is this?
Yeah, like it's like blasphemy over there. But yeah, man, that's probably like, if anything, like the experience going over there and seeing all that, like it kind of like shit, man. I can't even like fathom it, honestly, like to be over there so far in a completely unknown environment, and then like just decide like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna go here and there.
Yeah, it took me some time to like process everything that I experienced and like start making work based off that. Like I did start. I did take art classes in Korea, but it was like my first semester as an art student, so it wasn't it was pretty good. I had really, really good professors, but I came back. When I came back, I came back a lot stronger. But I did have to like research stuff. Like I had to research stuff that was like from over there, and I wish I could have been over there to like see it firsthand. Because at this point, like I have some idea of what it might be, but it's online. You know, it's not there in person.
Yeah, of course, you're not gonna be there to feel like the fucking environment. You know?
Yeah.
Do you ever plan on going back?
Oh yeah, I mean, as soon as I get some money and I start like this career stuff, like going, hopefully I can go back.
What career stuff? You talking about like your artistic career?
Yeah, hopefully like my artistic career kicks off and I have enough money to travel a bit. Because there's a few places that I haven't traveled to. Like I do want to visit like Singapore and Taiwan. Those are two like East Asian countries that I would really want to visit. And then there's other parts of Asia that I want to travel to, like Vietnam. The Philippines sound pretty nice too. So
why specifically those places?
I don't know. That
just an itch you got to scratch.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know what it is, so I want to go check it out. You know, like
what is it about the Eastern art that speaks to you more so than like Western art?
It's not that it speaks more to me. Like I really, really value like both. If you see, I brought some work here that's more like Western. You're gonna see some like manuscript kind of stuff, but it's different. It's completely different from what I was taught. So in my academic career, like the art history that I learned, it's all Western. It's all Spanish art history of like ancient Rome and Renaissance and Middle Ages, and it's just Europe and US, and I didn't learn about like Asian art, so I had to like go out of my way to like learn about it.
We always ask this whenever we've got an artist on the podcast, or just anyone in general who's a creative. But what is your creative process like, man? Like when you go through these things, you've got like an idea, you need to put something like, whether it's getting hands on or putting like pen to paper, like what is it that like drives you and inspires you to do that kind of stuff?
Oh, like at the beginning of it is just like bombarding my face with like Instagram, and I just go through that, you know.
Just fucking take it on in, dude.
Yeah, like I do follow a lot of like contemporary artists on Instagram, and like you see them working, you know, you don't see their final work, you see the process of how they get to that. So I always keep an eye on that. So it all starts there, and then after that, something of interest that I find, for example, like I've been looking at a lot of like manuscripts, and there's this book that my brother has. It's called Book of Hours, and it's like a little small like coffee table book, and it just has a bunch of really cool and flat like medieval art. And then after that, I start kind of like looking at some of these images, seeing how I can merge my own style into it, and then it just develops from that.
You ever go through like any trouble like feeling like you can't translate a certain thing that you're feeling? Like my biggest block, if I ever feel anything like it, whether it's like writing or photography or whatever it might be, is that like I've got a vision in my head and I feel like it can't translate it properly into like whatever medium it might be. Do you ever feel like you go through that kind of stuff as an artist?
Yeah, I think it happens mostly when I already have an idea of what I want to see like in the final product. When I already start thinking like I want my final product to look like this, and when you start working on it and it's not going towards that direction, like you start tripping out, and then you stop working on that. So I think it's a lot easier when you don't really know what's gonna happen, where like you just slide through it, because like you never know when to stop. Like you just keep on working until you're like, whoa, okay, like I didn't know I was gonna get to this, and like I feel like this is where I stopped.
So there's a point that you get to where it's just like it's done.
Yeah, and like you just like that, like you just slid through a whole project, like, and that like super fast.
Is it satisfying, dude? Do you feel like it like a weight off your shoulders once something gets done?
Mm-hmm. Of course, I know like it's not instant gratification, but so like you put in a lot of work, you put in your time, and then finally it's done, and you just say, oh, like this is nice. So it's really nice to get like something that you didn't really know what we were gonna get, and then you have your final. You have this product.
I feel like Josh, like you're still stuck on thinking about like shit. What's it like to be over there and like?
No, not even. I was just like listening and taking it all in, trying to. On one of the earliest episodes that we had with, we actually hung out with Danny and Matt. I don't know if you know who they are.
Yeah, Matt McVinney.
Yeah.
Danny, Real Man.
Yeah. Anyway, shout out to y'all if you ever check this shit out.
Yeah.
But,
I'll let him know.
One of the conversations that we had, dude, was like something I wanted to bring up today, which is where I kind of brought up the idea, or I mean, I don't know, this is probably just me fucking being shot in the dark or whatever, but the idea that art is influenced, whether like consciously or subconsciously, by the events that partake around the planet, like whether it be dramatic shit that's happening, like the recent craziness of New Zealand, or the bullshit that happens here every day, like the whole fucking build the wall thing, the situation with the migrants that are coming from Central America, or whether it's positive shit that happens that no one acknowledges, where like shit, I can't think of anything positive now that I think about it. But one of the ideas that I had, or that we kind of came to a conclusion to when we were in the middle of this conversation, was how like that energy that fucking gets thrown out into the world by these type of people, whether it be positive or negative, it somehow makes its way into people's art, you know. And like, I mean, I don't know, I've to be completely honest, I've never seen your work, right? I haven't been to Schwartz Gallery.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this right here. So. I was looking. I've been looking at this last like piece that you're looking at here. Like, hold it up to the camera and I'll show it to everyone. Ooh, there you go. Wait, hold on. Yeah, right there. That's good. So yeah, like I've been looking at this whole time that you were talking, right? And I was thinking like, how does that like apply to what I'm thinking? But I don't know. Just looking at it, if I may hold it real quick, or like at least just to set it down, like when you came down and set the pen to paper or whatever it was that you used to put on this, what were you thinking? Were you thinking anything, or were you just kind of letting it guide you?
So, yeah, again, like obviously, like I wasn't thinking about like the contemporary issues that we're having right now. I obviously like completely detached from that, and time travel to like the medieval times, you know, like flat work, manuscripts, like completely thinking about that, and not like the issues
just
that we're having.
Existing like at a different fucking point in time and space.
Something that I see, and this is, I'm going back to like process, but I'm all about like, when I look at a piece of work, I say, where's the midpoint in this? How is it structured? What's the layout? And like, kind of like the technical parts of the work that I see in these manuscripts. So I'm all about using rulers and getting measurements of like any piece of paper or like any medium that I'm doing, except ceramics. Ceramics, it's 3D.
So you just kind of feel it out as you go around. Yeah.
But when it's flat, when it's like a painting or a drawing, like I measure out, and I want to have like things specific. Like I want things in the middle, and I want like certain points.
And it's funny that you say that, like it's completely detached, right? Because I've been like looking at it for like the past, I don't know, like 5 minutes or so that you guys were talking, and like to me, just looking at it, right? And again, this is only my interpretation of what it is that you laid down. It's like the I don't know if that's what you were going for or not, but the black hole in the background kind of looks like the eye, or an eye to me. And I don't know if that's what you're going for or not. Again, right? Purely my take on it, but it almost seems like a scenario where a person, entity, or whatever is like working hard to bring forth something into this, where he's currently staying, or like into the dimension, if you will, that he's inhabiting, right? And like it's crazy because I feel like that is a good description of what's going on in the world at large. It's like there's a huge shift, at least from what I see, where the perhaps the power structures that currently are in control are not gonna be there for that much longer, you know. And again, this is me looking at this, and you're telling me that you're not thinking about it, you know. So it kind of like loops back into again purely my perspective. I have a skewed perspective, as we all come to know. But
you see, like the more we look at it, the more like that like, and I'm glad you used the word black hole because it is a black hole. Like I have like black holes like scattered around a lot of my artwork because I love the idea of like it's like
stellar decay.
Yeah, or it's just like it's like broken, you know, like something fucked up in space and like in space time, and like it just like
consumes all fucking
it's just swallowing all this stuff. Like it's crazy. Like I can't even, like I'm
at a loss of words.
Yeah, I'm at a loss of words. Like
a
black hole. You know?
When I'm looking at that, I see more of like a religious aspect to it. Is it what it looks like to me? Because it's got like a and you can hold it up to the camera again the way it just says like when people are looking, you know, referencing, but it's got kind of like this like halo around the figure, and that to me looks like a very like a religious thing that's usually, you know, depicted in most like Christian paintings.
Yeah.
So when I see that, that's like the first thing I think about. And you can set it back down. That's that to me when I see like that. You usually see something like that with the halo, and it's usually like a very perfect looking figure, a very perfect looking like person who's like really holy and pure and righteous. And this looks like a disfigured person who looks like they're obsessed with something.
Yeah.
And that's that when I was looking at that, and then I see like the scribblings under it. What are the what is that under it basically?
So under it, it's just gibberish. Like it doesn't mean
right.
anything.
So that's the first thing I was saying. And it's weird because like you look at it and it almost looks like the American flag, like the way the proportions are.
Yeah.
True.
So I don't know. For me, that was kind of like a like an obsession with something, because you see it there, you see it under the desk, you see it on the wall, and then everything else is supposed to be like.
Is it nighttime outside?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just like it's someone focused on their study or like their interests and like that's it. Like it's just someone obsessing over something.
It's the artificial intelligence entity, dude. It's waiting to be birthed into this dimension, my guy.
Yeah. And I use a lot of these, like, because most of like old Western art, like it's preserved because it's religious. It's mostly all religious. Like a lot of the medieval like art is
like the birth of Venus.
Yeah.
And fucking Madonna.
It's all like it has some religious aspect to it, whether it be like Christianity or like mythological like religion. So it's just there. Like we're like super exposed to it. So I introduce it because it's just like that's what I saw, that's what I learned, and I do it. So like here's another image. It's just some naked guy. He's like wearing some like Converse, but he has a halo around his
Right.
Yeah, he just has a halo. I don't know why, but
it's always like the blend of like religious and secular art.
Yeah.
And that little bit of like I don't know, I guess like the rift that you're trying to transcend and stuff. So I don't know, man. To me, like it's always been really like I've always been really into like dissecting artwork and stuff like that. But I know sometimes I feel like I overthink things.
Yeah.
But
that's good though. You know, it means it carries like some form of weight.
Yeah. I mean, it's got some sort of like significance to it, and like that you've got this. Like, that's supposed to be like the many-armed god. What's his name? I don't know. Fucking know.
Yeah. I don't even know. So it's kind of like
it's just archetypes, dude.
Yeah, there's some drawings that I do. They're called like War and Clutter, and I have some drawings of that. And this is like a sketch for another one that I'm doing, but it's just like. It's like your memory just has like a cache. So it's just like you just have all these like you remember seeing these things and you don't really know what they are. So like you just draw them without thinking about it. So like if I took 5 semesters of art history and I was looking at religious art, like my mind's already thinking about it, and when I write it, it's just gonna appear whenever I start drawing something. So like I have cats, I have like an Adderall, like it's just a whole bunch of junk that you think about, and like it's not processed, it's not ironed out. So I put all of that in one image and like make it like super detailed.
Josh, I know you said you haven't seen his work, and for anybody who hasn't seen
Schwartz
Diego's
Gallery.
work yet, Diego is going to have, and we'll plug it at the end of the show as well. Diego is going to have an artist talk tomorrow at Schwartz Gallery at 8 p.m.
From 8 to 9 p.m.
From 8 to 9 p.m. Tell us a little bit about about that. Like what goes into an artist talk. I was at one recently. Mark Burkhart at you were there.
Yeah.
Mark Burkhart was there at TAMU, the Fine Arts and Performing thing. I'm sorry, Fine Arts and I don't know what the fucking name
Fine
of
Arts
the
Center, bro.
Fine Arts Center. Let's just call it that. But they were at the gallery there. I went in and I checked that out, and there was a lot of really cool stuff there. And I was there for his artist talk, which was very like meticulous. And I think that's a cool thing to see between certain artists, because for some people it's a much more of like a mathematical process than it is for others. Other people just kind of go with the flow or what they're feeling at the moment. What's your I don't want you to like spoil it because I'm gonna be there. But what's your artist talking like center? Is it like talking basically what you're telling us now about your like process, or?
Think so, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I haven't gotten like news of what we're gonna talk about. But like the same way, I hope like the same way like I can improvise like with you guys is that I'm able to do that like in the talk.
Think of tonight as a warm up.
Yeah, it's a good little practice,
little exercise.
Yeah, it's perfect that I did this like the night before.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to set it up, because I wanted people to get out there, because we've been working on getting people to kind of like mature a little bit more in terms of their artistic sense, and at the same time just experience something a little bit new, because I feel like every artist talk or every gallery that I attend, every exhibition that I attend, there's always something that I feel like I take from it. One of the things that I did want to touch on, because I just remembered now, but one of the prints that I bought specifically because it was the one, and forgive me if there's a name for it. I don't remember if there's a name for it or not. But there was one where you had labeled your mistakes on it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You basically named it like, I want to say it was like mistake number 1, number 2, number 3, right? And I thought that was forgive me for sounding like pretentious or anything like that. I personally thought it was genius. I know my friend George, who's an artist as well, he's been on the podcast a couple of times. He was also like in agreement with me, where it was like, you get something that other people would attempt to cover up or erase, and what's the word?
Bring it front and center.
Yeah, bring it front and center. There's another fucking word for that I wanted to find. A big word. Accentuate. You accentuate it and you make it part of the painting. And I thought that was fucking cool. If I could have bought the whole thing, I would have, but I broke.
Someone bought it.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, so
bastards.
Yeah, they got the piece, and I'm really happy about that. And the way it happened, if you see some of the this way up arrows, like those like shipping label like arrows that are in the side of the painting, that was a first mistake. So I'm using like a petroleum based Crink ink, and it's black, and I didn't have any white paint. I'm just like, if it was like pen work, like I don't have an eraser for it like that, so I messed that up, and I was like, how the fuck am I gonna fix this? Like, this is terrible. And I was like, okay, so like it's this problem solving, I started looking at, I like stepped back and I looked at the painting, and I was like, well, it's not the only mistake that I have. Like, there's a few more, and you just find a way to like segregate them. Like if it, if it was a science experiment, like you need to record your mistakes,
right?
And because it's part of the process. So, and that's what I do. Like in those paintings, you can see my pencil work, which is like everything that I measured out. I don't erase that. I try not to erase a lot of my work. Like, I want people to see the process just by looking at the painting, or without having to ask me questions. Yeah, so they can see like line work where I do my midpoints, my lines, and all that. So if I'm recording that, I might as well record the mistakes. So that's how I went about like solving that issue with that painting. So
you just said a little bit about not I guess so you don't have to talk. Mauro was on here a couple of episodes back to talk a little bit about his creative process and that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I asked him was, how do you feel about explaining or talking about your art to people, like basically telling them what's it about? I know, I'll give you a couple of examples. This is going to be a little bit of a long-winded question before I get to the point.
Yeah, of course.
But so Mauro, when I asked him, okay, let me take a step back. The first time that I went to an exhibit was George Lopez's exhibit at Muse. It was called Remissions, and it was actually very much touching on the whole embracing the mistakes sort of thing. And he related it more to like, it's part of life. You know, you don't learn unless you embrace a mistake and accept it for what it is. Which is why I really like that specific piece. When I was talking to Mauro, I asked him, do you feel like explaining your artwork in a sense cheapens it? And his answer was like, I don't feel like it cheapens it. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, I don't feel like it cheapens it, but in a sense, art is language and language is communication. And if people aren't understanding that at the time, then you haven't done your job as an artist, or you haven't effectively communicated something that's supposed to be communicated. I countered with saying that I think the thing is that people find, or artists find, that explaining it is important because not everybody, especially here in Laredo, have the language to translate whatever it is that's going on in the painting or in the art. So what's your take on that? Do you feel like
Roger just called y'all dumb, Laredo?
No.
Roast them. Roast them in the comments. I don't think roast this motherfucker.
Somebody already. It's not about. Obviously, it's not about being dumb.
It was a joke. It was a joke.
No. I know it's dumb, but I know it's a joke. But it's not about being dumb. It's just not like you don't have like the cipher to an enigma or anything like that. You're not going to be able to decode it. So if you're as an artist,
what are your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah. If you're, I won't go on any longer. Long-winded stuff.
I think, and I don't know. I think like from experience, like an experienced artist is gonna.
Can you bring the mic to your mouth?
An experienced artist is gonna know what to say about their painting. Maybe like from many years of doing it, I think, and that might be some artists. I know myself, like you might ask me about like my painting today, and I'm just gonna go with the flow, and I'm gonna tell you a few things. And if you ask me again a year later, like I'm gonna say something different, and like it's always gonna be different. Like I'm always gonna give a different response. So how accurate like is my description if I'm gonna be switching it up every year? Like, and does my answer really matter at that point if it's gonna be switching up?
So would you say it comes more with experience, or is it something like maybe is it I'm not going to say lack of experience, but would you say maybe the meaning for you kind of evolves as each time that you see it or face it?
Yeah. So like right now we talked about this drawing. I'm going to bring it up again, but I was like the first thing I focused on was it doesn't really mean anything. It was just measurements, me like transferring the techniques that I saw from manuscripts and onto paper. But then there's a black hole, right? And I was like, oh well, yeah, like black holes and like I don't like I guess from experience, like completely what you're doing, but at least for me, it's just like,
and I think
I'm skipping around. Like there's so much. Like you're having a human like with complex thoughts like do these drawings, So it's always gonna mean something different every time.
And I agree,
especially to me, like even to me,
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I also believe that it kind of feeds into this idea of like the muse or the creative spark being a different source that's not necessarily something that any one person has within them to a certain extent. But like I had mentioned, it's more so the ability to tap into that wavelength, that frequency, or that state of mind, whatever you want to call it, and then it manifests itself by your practice in being able to use techniques to personify that source. You know what I mean? So then obviously that source, which I believe, this is my own personal thoughts on the idea, is connected back to the source that is the preeminent creative force that has, brought us to this fucking exact moment that we're here today, right? And essentially, of course, it's going to be completely ambiguous, and it's going to mean something different to everyone, because they all have their own experiences through the course of their own lives. So at any given time, looking at one specific snapshot of that creative force is going to, warrant a different explanation for what it means.
Yeah. Right? And there's other projects that they're more technical, and those are very easy, and you're always going to get the same answer. So if we were to be talking about my Martian ceramic, I'm going to have exact answers for that, because it's all I'm using a pseudo scientific method to do these kind of projects, but I'm always going to give you the same answer. There's not a lot of it's not that complex compared to these weird and these images that are based on fiction,
Exactly. So and then perhaps the ability to have exact answers for those types of works with regards to your ceramics stems from they exist in this third dimension, right? So they're readily available for our physical senses to feel
them
and have a specific, this is exactly what that means. Not so much so when it comes down to, again, the two-dimensional space where you can't be there.
Yeah, it's translating something. What do you think about that, man? Do you subscribe to the idea or the existence of a muse? Do you feel like anything? Because I plenty of people that we've talked to at some point will say oh yeah, this work is not my work. It's something that I got, that it came to me and I've translated it and I've just basically brought something that was otherworldly to the third dimension. Is that, I don't know if that's too cheesy or cathartic, or I don't know any other fucking words for that, but what do you feel about that, man? Do you subscribe to that idea at all? Have you given it any thought?
No. Would you be able to follow up? Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I'm telling you, if you want to take it off and hold it, you can.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit back.
Yeah, that way you're relaxed.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I would follow up a little bit on muse, define muse for me, and I might be able to give you some sort of answer.
So the idea of a muse, it goes back way to we're talking about medieval times, maybe even further
ancient
than
Greece.
That, ancient Greece times, or they used to call it a daemon. It was a people would say that anything, whether it be religious hymns or dances or ceremonies that would happen, if there was one person that was imbued with a creative force, they were viewed as godly because they were visited by an otherworldly spirit that has given them this talent or the ability to bring about anything that was otherworldly or that message from God, which is what they perceived it as at the time, and were able to translate it properly into the physical world. So it's very much like saying that you have an inspiration that just kind of visits you. And it's been from everything, whether it's art, music, what's his name?
The solution to a complicated math problem.
Right. What was his name? Tom Waits. Tom Waits. Tom Waits is a very popular jazz kind of snap blues kind of dude.
Jazz hands.
He would say that whenever that would visit him, it would torment him because at the time he didn't have anything to write down this beat or thought or lyric in his head, and he would get tormented by it, and it would beat him down. Would you say that's something that you feel? It's okay if you don't. We're not trying to convince you yes, muse exists, but
they're a good band.
Do you subscribe to that thought? Maybe.
Well, maybe I do follow I can't work beside them, but because of social media, I'm able to follow my favorite artists, and which I perceive them to be like masters of of like contemporary art right now, and from observing them and from looking at their work, and which are like, to me, they're like conversations. Like I do have aha moments, and I do want to say like I have something to say about that, and I do adapt some of their whatever they were talking about or whatever they're working on. I follow up and I introduce something to that conversation, and I mean they don't get to see it, but that's how I get my inspiration. Like,
so it's much more from like a tangible source again, coming from being able to see your favorite artist's work.
Yeah, like I don't just like. I mean, it does happen where sometimes I'm just like sitting down and I'm just like, oh, but it's mostly from either listening to like innovators, like for example, this was like Elon Musk and me like going into the Martian project.
Elon Musk is my muse, bro.
Yeah. So it's just stuff like that. Like I wanna. They're having their own conversation, and I have something to say about it, and I follow up. And
I respect that, man. That's cool. It's a lot more of a I don't want to say grounded in a different.
I'll venture to say grounded.
It's a more grounded form.
Conventional, maybe.
No, I don't want to say conventional either, because a lot of his work is not conventional. Like you.
No,
see
but
it
I
and
mean
it
the
seems
means
like
by inspiration, not so much the work. You know what I
okay,
mean?
yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, because I mean, like you said, like I've never actually. Thinking about that, what you just said about having a communication with something. I mean, it's very much kind of how we conduct this podcast in a sense. Having the idea for an outlet, we all have our own inspiration or something that we've seen, currently happening, whether it be current events or whether it be something that's currently going on in our lives, that we just define as our. Hey, this is my need for an outlet, and this is why we're doing it. And it's very much that. It's continuing a conversation. I mean, if people are listening and they feel like that's something that maybe they needed to hear at the time or something, that's what I feel like. Yeah, that's basically how inspiration works. It's a one-sided conversation with a person, and you decide to respond, and that not verbally, not literally, but you creatively. Yeah,
and it's like that, like in other fields, I'm sure, like in like in the science field, someone writes a research paper and they say, what, this is what I'm doing, and then someone like redoes that research that someone else did, and then they follow up, and they either say, you're doing this wrong because you didn't do this and that, or you're doing this right, but I also included these factors into the research that you made previously, and it just goes on and on and on and on until and it's just like that. It just goes on.
Now, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and make an inference here from all the stuff that you've been saying, but I feel like you're a bit more scientifically inclined as far as like a worldview. Does that sound?
I mean, yeah, you was an engineer.
Exactly. That's why I feel like that. And one of the, I don't know, it's funny because I feel that the gap where like science and I don't know what to describe other sorts of phenomena that are not necessarily explained by science, other than like, I'm gonna use this word very fucking loosely. It's gonna cover a wide variety of different sorts of phenomena. But let's just say like the supernatural or perhaps like the fantastic.
I wanted to venture into this as well. So yeah, you're on the right track. Let's do it.
It's just that I don't feel like the two are incompatible. You know what I mean? I just feel that there's a bridge that science has yet to cross, which with our current faculties, we don't readily know how to identify the phenomena and explain them as part of like the scientific model or the interpretation of what reality is, right? Because I've gone down this lane several times before, but I fucking love doing it, so I'm down to jump right in again.
It's cool. There's a train that's gonna pass by right now. It's gonna make a shit ton of noise. But yeah, cool. I wanted to venture into that as well because you did mention like the Martian soil thing, and I know that immediately like kind of
it got my attention definitely.
For sure.
But
Let's talk about space.
yeah, bro,
that's-
exactly. That's
yeah.
I wanted to go back exactly into that, right? Because if we are to accept, fuck it, okay, let's exist in this the current society we live in, and also choose to accept certain scientific principles that are the base constructs of this reality, right? And if one of these mainstream principles is that theoretically several billions and trillions of fucking however many years ago there was a singularity, right? And then from one instant to the next, all of creation that is now is birthed. Then there's a couple of laws, one of which is like the law of conservation of mass, right? Which no mass or matter, excuse me, can be created nor destroyed. And the same would go for energy, right? So if that holds true, then there is a fundamental interconnectedness that is expressed by all living things, whether they are inanimate or animal or human or otherwise, right? Because at one point in the distant past, it was all part of the same thing.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So that's where I see like several people that describe like incongruencies between having like a worldview where there's no room for the soul or what have you. I just don't buy it. You know, I just see it as like, okay, it's just another problem that we yet don't know how to explain. You know, and again, I'm not a fucking scientist, nor do I proclaim to be. This is just me fucking, you know, purely logical progression from one idea to the next. Now, sure, scientists can come up and be like, Josh, you're 100% full of shit, and this is why. And then I'd be like, okay, explain to me because I want to know why I'm wrong. You know what I mean? But again, like I the ideas that I want to kind of emphasize, at least, again, this is purely my perspective on what artists are and where creativity might come from. And I'm not 100% sold on this. This is just something that I feel sits right with me, right? So, as I mentioned before, I feel that creativity perhaps does come from another source, right? And in several civilization cycles that have come and gone, whether it be like the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Mayans, the Aztecs, what have you, there's always been a class of those people that are the bridge between the gods, quote unquote, and then the rest of the people. And in specific civilizations, they could be like the order of the high priests or fucking witch doctors, shaman, what have you, right? Now, in our current iteration of whatever currently you can call civilization, I guess, there's a gap. There's not really those people that are there. Sure, there's the church, whether it is like Christianity, Islam, or Buddhist, whatever. But far and wide, I feel like the masses are not so much influenced by their specific, I don't know, I guess
School of
thought, I guess is the right word. And that's one thing that is shared in common along all cultures, right, is the appreciation for art. So in the absence of this mediator between the spiritual realm and the physical realm, I feel like artists tap into that side and then bring forth art, whether they know it or not, like subconsciously or not, that is like communication from whatever that other side is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, this is all just me fucking, I'm gonna just whatever I think, right? But I don't know, dude. What's your take on it? What do you think?
Well, like we can understand like really like complex like topics like and really complex things that like as a species only we can understand, like something that's like infinite, something that is
Non-existent,
something that's like non-existent, like we harvest these kinds of like ideas. So like with that you make art, you make religion, and scientists like they understand that there's something like the possibility that there's something infinite and that there's a possibility that there's something very complex, and they're out there like looking for it, and they're out there like cracking numbers and figuring out that like it works mathematically like through a system. So now they're looking for these kind of things, you know. So like everyone does it because we have an idea of what it is and what it might be.
I agree.
It's very like so just like yeah.
I agree. I mean,
I personally think that's like I mean yeah, dude, filling that little gap. I do think that maybe that's something that I haven't really given too much thought to. I personally feel like one of the things that George and this other guy I always want to say his name is Julio Mendez. He's a professor, I believe.
Yeah, he's a design professor.
Right.
At the university.
When I was talking to him, one of my personal conflicts was that like I've always wanted to be an artist. I've always wanted to do things with my hands. I've always wanted to just find a way to translate that creativity that I feel into like paper, paint, onto canvas, and I've always felt conflicted because I felt like I've never actually had like the technical skill. And one of the things, and at the time that I was having the conversation, it was with I had the conversation at a different time with George, but this time it was with Gil Rocha and Mr. Mendez, and they told me, they were like, well, here's the thing, man. With artists, a lot of the times you make an artist, you're naturally born with a creative soul, and from that you become an artist when your soul catches up to your hand, whether it be through like technical skill or training or just in general like classes and things like that you take. And I found that really like profound, and it did make me feel a lot better because it felt like, oh, I can eventually get to that point where I'm able to create something that I feel and translate it onto pen and paper. And I do think that lends a lot to that idea of filling the gap and the internet connected, like you're born with a creative soul and you just got to catch up to it at some point. I don't know how you feel about that. I know that, and we both have kind of said like, yeah, this is all our own personal like view on it. I feel like it's a lot more mathematical on you guys' side. I personally feel like it's maybe I don't have that like language or that school of thought, or I don't subscribe to it myself, but I do feel like that idea of a soul, and the ability to translate it or communicate it, is very much what drives somebody creatively. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, and I agree, and I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
Boom.
But you need to develop like a system to like harness and like draw out that soul onto like paper, and
100%.
yeah, like you do need like, I think you do need like a system to figure out how you can express that, because like everyone has it, and I'm sure there's some people that they haven't practiced their technical skills to like render these like these concepts, or like these complicated like artistic concepts, and they just think about them, they just talk about them, and they might even just write about them, but they never just
guilty.
They never put them down on like something physical, like on paper or like on a sculpture, or just convert it into like fine art. But it's something that people can read up on. I know there are like people that just talk concepts.
Yeah, conceptual
artists, and that's it. They just like they sit down, they chill, and they just converse, which is probably like, I think it's still important. It's just pure like conversation. And
yeah,
pure,
just
like,
unabridged, like mental exercises, I guess.
Yeah,
to a certain extent.
How did you decide to I guess I feel like this is maybe a repeat question. I was to say, how did you decide to start like venturing into that? How did you decide to like one day just say, you know what, I'm gonna start drawing? I know maybe we talked a little bit about that, like your introduction to art, but what was it that kind of like I don't know, I guess spurred that on? Was it a mentor? Was it your personal experiences? Was what was it, a need? What do you feel kind of spurred that on?
I think my brother would be like my first and like one of my first mentors, because like it's through him that he would draw. He would introduced me to the content that I would like to draw. But it's always been there, you know, like drawing, like um and I can't really think back, but I actually have a really really old drawing that I did as like a toddler, you know, and it's like a beach and like I have boats and stuff.
I was so fucking terrible at drawing, dude, as a kid. Whenever I tried to draw, I just had like shapes.
One of the first things that I started drawing was I really liked the cover for it wasn't a cover, it was album art inside of the Taking Back Sunday album, where you want to be, and it was this.
Is it the one at the booth?
No, that's louder now.
Oh yeah, true.
It's a guy, like, you don't see his face. He's wearing a suit and he's just holding this like little, like, I guess like a letter board, and he's holding that, and it just says where you want to be on it, and then he's like, you in the back is just got like, he's standing in the middle of a road, and it's just like,
oh yeah,
highway, and he's just holding it that there, and I really liked that idea, and I started kind of like I don't know, I took that as like an inspiration to the first couple of drawings that I did, and I don't know, man, at some point I just kind of stopped. I actually what made me what made me stop drawing was once I got into high school, out of middle school into high school, I took an art class, and the art teacher there she didn't give a shit. She was just kind of like,
fuck it,
just do these fucking homework assignments and go home. Like, that's about it. And I don't know, it was just very uninspired for me, and I just kind of was like, maybe art isn't for me, and I just kind of stopped. So but that was kind of like my first. Do you just transition into a question? Do you have like a piece of yours that's like your favorite piece?
My bong, bro.
Yeah, I might have some that I'm just like, oh, this is like I put it away. Like, I know for ceramic, like it's like a recent piece, but it is like it's a small like a bowl made out of the Martian mist. It's like the first one that I've made, and it's just there. It's like, it's probably the most like important thing in my room right now. It's kind of like the fucking like the Holy Grail, like in the Indiana Jones movie, you know, like it's there, and like, and it gets disregarded, you know. There's a few other things that like I sold off immediately, but I had this drawing where I use a lot of geometry, a lot of like rulers, a lot of lines, and I sold that off to like my friend Mauri. He like immediately bought it like as soon as I finished it. So those are some of my favorites. But I sometimes like, and I know it's really bad to like do this, but like I use like social media likes as like a reference of like what people are like liking, what they're not liking. And sometimes I see that like the stuff that I really like doesn't get as many likes. Yeah. So it's kind of like, whoa, that's crazy, because like I love this thing, and like it's like, why aren't you guys fucking with it, you know? but I love them, you know, and like I get to keep them because like nobody fucks with them, so yeah. I win. Like, you know, I keep it for myself. So
let's
I got a question.
Go ahead. Yeah.
How hard is it for you, man, to feel like balancing the artistic side of yourself with being able to also be business savvy and create income out of what you're doing?
So I think it's conversation. Like, you need I think like the business side of being an artist is like super important, and like I'm still working on that, but it's like you can sell anything to anybody. Like, you just need to sell it. So if I really like to do something, and like I don't want to, as an artist, like I don't want to do what people tell me to do. Like, ideally, like I want to do whatever I want to do, and I want to sell it. So you just have to like propose it to them and make it sound cool, and sell it like through your words. So that's why I think knowing your work and how to talk about your work is really important, and it's something that I'm still trying to like develop. So I'm not like switching it up on people. Like, let's say I have like 5 clients and they all hear a different thing about my piece. So it's better if they all know the same thing and they're like, oh, this guy knows what's up, and like it sounds good, and like I better like hop on this boat and like buy
Ride
the
that
piece.
motherfucker,
Yeah. But yeah, there's a few things.
Now I know
Mm.
you mentioned that it started picking up for you at like this past December till now.
Yeah. So when I graduated, I graduated last year from college. I got a BA in art, and then I started paying like for studio fees at Time U so I can just do work. But I was just making work. I was just kind of like chilling. I would do some markets, but I kind of started with the owner of Lolita. Her name is Maita, and she's like, hey, like you want to do some like live painting? Because I had done that before. I did a live painting. I did some live painting for a show at Boogaloo. I know Matt was playing. He has another group that he plays with.
Was it the
Bodies?
Light Bodies one?
Hmm?
Light Bodies, was it that one?
I think that was the name of the show, right?
No, Light Bodies was it's him, Mo Money, Monica.
Oh yeah,
and Danny.
Yeah. So that day it was Matt playing some lo-fi music, and then it was
Dude, I was there.
yeah, and then it was Danny, Monica.
I was there
and Matt.
actually. I think. Yeah,
Yeah. So I had like a table laid out next to the band.
That's
and I
right,
was-
yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
So I was doing some landscape paintings there, and I kind of just picked up from that, like, and then
you also did one at Cultura, right? I remember being there for that.
yeah, that, I did some. We had like a Sagrada Zine opening.
Right. Yeah, I was there for
Yeah.
that. The second volume or something. Oh, you know what? Yeah, let's transition to that. You have
got
anything
something
from
to show off?
Sagrada Zine?
Yeah, dude.
So, sorry.
Pulling out.
With Sagrada Zine is a local zine
Mhm.
that Diego here does artwork for, and it's a lot of some are, I mean, I want to say really good friends. It's Richard,
Mhm.
Geraldine, Audris, who's our little audience today,
Yeah.
and
So-
and Diego, and I don't know if I'm missing anybody there.
Yeah, and then we have Clarissa helping us out a
Oh,
lot.
right. I have
Mhm.
Clarissa
Yeah,
as well.
but like, yeah, it's like a clique, you know. Like, also, like, I mean, shout out to like Clarissa. She does a basura. That's her artistic name. We have who else? Yeah, well, I mean, we have people on board on that, but it started with like me, Jerry, Richard, and Andres, and then like Andres had invited me to do that. I had just come back from Germany, so I was like looking at like a bunch of like again like Western artworks and really old work from like old masters, you know, and they're like, hey, like you want to do a cover for us, and I was gonna be like their featured artist, but like I ended up just like sticking around and like helping them out with like the rest of the issues. But
This is the first one.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
volume 1 of Sagrada Zine.
there's a cover of the first.
Dude, it's
first
fucking
zine.
awesome.
And it has a back as well. And this is all done digitally, but I had actually sketched out the cover prior to that. I have the sketch
Bring it up.
right here.
Dude, it's fucking awesome, man. I like it. Boom. Now the back on the cover over here, all of
Mhm.
these masks, or did you like do all of those as well?
Yeah, I must have done like I think I did 5, and then I created like a pattern out of it.
It's fucking dope, dude.
Yeah, and then I did some weird shit on Illustrator. Like,
Make a shirt out of that, please.
yeah. I'll see what I can do.
I'll fucking buy it, dude. 100%.
Yeah, well, hell yeah, man. Like, thanks for the idea.
Dude, it's fucking awesome.
Mhm.
Can I see it over here?
Yeah, of course.
Mind if I hold it?
Yeah, this is a sketch.
Dude, it's fucking awesome.
I have actually
Mhm.
all 3. Well, it's volume 1, 2, and 2.5.
And 2.5, yeah.
I have them as like my little like collectors things.
Yeah,
I picked
dude,
them up.
The zines are so cool. Like, I didn't know about zines until like I met like I started hanging out with like Audrey and Jerry for the Sagrada zine, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I got introduced to like all of that, and we started hanging out, and like I would just like put like fucking like smoke and like talk zine shit, and like it was awesome. I really liked it. Like it was very loose. It was very like different from like the academic stuff that I was doing. So
Like very organic.
yeah, like
that's actually my favorite. Like my
parameters were very loose and stuff like that. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite like elements of the zine is that like it all feels is just like it's like you said organic. It's very much people just coming together and feeling like they want to put something in a zine, and then they do it. And you guys do all of the legwork, which is like something that I've always really like supported and really appreciated like seeing that stuff, man. Is that you guys do everything from like designing it,
yeah,
printing it, and then like releasing and doing all that stuff there. And then I remember the was it the second the second volume release? You guys had a Cultura. You had actually had some little bowls for sale that you had made yourself.
Yeah, volume 2 is like that's like the best thing. like I'm really like proud of volume 2 and like the way we opened it up, like the special editions that we had. Like I don't know, it was like it was super cool. Like, I was really happy about that zine.
I spoke to Geraldine at Vinyl Night Tuesdays at Cultura, by the way.
Those are super cool as well. Shout out to Geraldine and Vinyl Nights at Cultura.
Fuck, I need to change my work schedule, motherfucker.
It's fun.
You're missing out on a lot.
Hard, dude.
They're starting to have a themed night, which I think this next Tuesday is going to be like an old Western theme.
Mm-hmm.
But I spoke to Geraldine at one of those Vinyl Nights, and I asked her a little bit about when the third issue is coming out, and he told me that you guys are all just trying to like balance everything out before you start work on that. But has anything kind of progressed since then, or?
Well, like we've talked on like ever since we did 2.5, we all got super busy. Like I started graduating, and then I started getting more like at some point I was like unemployed. I was trying to grind, try to like get some money, and so we set it aside. But while that was going on, I like experimented a little bit, and I started seeing Zagrazin as a publishing company. And right now, what we're trying to do is like I made my first. It was a zine called like there were just scans of my work, and it's just like focused on my own work. And right now we're trying to get some work with Clarissa Basura's work, where it's just like her own thing, kind of like Sagrazin being a platform, and like we publish zines for like individual artists. And we've been like tossing that idea around before we make like a volume 3, kind of like to like produce some of this stuff before we go around like working on that issue. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty fucking cool, dude. And what do you guys include like in the zines? Just work?
We talk about a few things, like whatever's like going down, we like talk about it. I know like in volume 2, Salsa from Tokyo came down, so we're gonna cover that. And we kind of like talk about like we talk about artists that like they're just like starting up. Like in volume 2, we also like we had Clarissa as our featured artist.
I saw Monse did some work for that too, right?
Yeah, we also like put Monse on the zine. She did like some pretty cool work on that as well.
And at 2.5, you had this like hackers theme going on.
Yeah,
for it.
dude.
I fucking dig that, dude, because it came I don't mean to interrupt, but like that one had like this little like folder that you had to like rip open, and it was like made like it was kind of like a little top secret like confidential.
That's fucking cool.
And it was all like a little like hacker theme, and it had this very like retro futuristic hacker kind of vibe, and I thought that was super neat, dude.
Yeah, dude. 2.5 was like a trip. Like we had just finished 2, and then Jerry was like, "Come over to my crib, you know, like we need to talk, right?" And she's like, "We got like, it was like the band is like they're coming down on 26. Like we want to do like a 2.5, like a small.
That was a good band.
We want to do a small zine, you know, and like she like fucking put like joints in our face, and like we started watching the movie Hackers and stuff, and like we started brainstorming. It was crazy, like, but Jerry was like, Jerry gets an idea and like
she runs with it.
Yeah, she's like get on board, you know, like, so we fucking love Jerry, man. Like, like, yeah, it's cool. She's always like dreaming up these like concepts, and yeah, they're so fun. Like I'm like smiling right now because I'm just remembering like everything that we were doing for that. Like I had like frosted tips.
Yeah, I saw that. I remember that.
You know?
Yeah.
I had like blonde like tips, and I was like, oh,
the
perfect.
Sunglasses too. Remember?
Yeah, dude. Like we went out to go buy glasses that were like, they were like it was like 90s gear, man. Like
it was like also I feel like I remember, and I'm not sure if I remember this correctly, but there was like a very like metallic looking jacket at some point that somebody had on. I don't remember that's if I'm recalling that correctly, but either way, I don't want to like I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. So it's getting a little late.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I do want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about your opinions on the art scene, man. The art scene in Laredo. So we again, this is the usual question that we'll ask people, whether it's like their own involvement or their responsibility to the scene. How do you feel about, you know, we've got what, 3 galleries, not including the Laredo Center of the Arts. We got Muse, Schwartz, and Gallery 201. As far as the ones that I'm aware of, how do you feel about the art scene in Laredo, man? Do you feel like it's growing? What would you like to see done? You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely growing, and people are just like, even if it's not those 3 galleries, they're finding somewhere to like display their work. So I know Monse recently had her exhibition at the beer garden at Cultura.
Yeah, we'll have her on in the next episode.
Yeah, and I know like people are using like Boogaloo, the rooms, as like another space for them to like. They're just trying to like find somewhere for them to like put their work
the
up.
Shit up.
Yeah, and it's happening, man. I know like people are getting on. They're getting on board.
It's the shift.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
But I want more. Like,
oh, it's only the beginning, dude. I feel like
yeah.
we're like just right at the precipice of this fucking. I don't know. I guess like Renaissance in Laredo.
Yeah. Like I do want to see more, and like I'll do like I'm doing my best to like produce like a lot of work. So people like won't like shy out, and like they'll be like, oh, well, like this motherfucker, you know, like taking up all the space. like
fuck it, dude. Take over all the galleries. Bro.
Yeah. So like it'll be like I want to create, hopefully, like if I work hard enough, like create some sort of like friendly competition where like someone's like, hey, don't like hog all the space, which I'm not even on that level, but it's kind of like, oh, well, he's doing that, like I kind of want to go out there and like show off my work like the same way he's doing it. So yeah, I also hopefully like later on, like people from out of town coming down here to show their work to the people here, like the same way bands are coming down. Like I want artists to come down.
It's been a bigger.
That's we'll talk about it on a later episode, but that's one of the objectives of the Cultivarte thing, which, you know what, I want to have you at some point join us for one of those meetings. But I'm part of a little it's a collective, really. It's a couple of people who have this drive to increase, 1, public arts projects in Laredo, and 2, work towards creating a space, kind of like a co-op for artists to work on their stuff and display it there, and create an environment where we're able to bring, you know, artists down and talk a little bit about the art that they do, and just to in general expose the scene to you know, artists that have experiences from all around the world, and so I know like TAMU had their own like personal budget to bring like Mark Burkhart down.
Yeah.
And I like to see that like on the scale of like, you know, getting people out to go see artists in Laredo, like downtown, wherever it might be. But yeah, man, that's cool. I already feel what is it you're pulling up there?
So I know like it seems like we're wrapping it up, but there's gonna be an event on May 11th. It's gonna be at Boogaloo, and it's like Casa Prisma, which is like they coordinate events. It's by like my homeboy like Mauricio and Toño, and I think there's a few other people involved. But it's Yucks, and it's gonna be like art and music, and it's gonna be during the day, so it's gonna be like chill. Like we're trying to make some sort of like festival out of this. But I think on the lineup we have Diabetic Jesus, we have Modern Sophia, we have Lex, we have Matt McVinney, we have Justin Lorences, and
Nice.
Julio Sierra. I think he's a DJ, and they're going to be playing music on like if you know what Boogaloo looks like, there's 2 rooms when you go up the stairs, and on the left room is going to be where the bands are going to be playing, and on the room on the right I'm going to be displaying some artwork on that.
Live painting?
No, just
okay.
Just like a gallery. type
yeah,
of setup.
like I'm going to have like a gallery set up in that room. Might have some ceramic, some paintings, and
Definitely prints.
Yeah, so hopefully some prints. I think I'll see what kind of merch, some T-shirts for sure.
Those fucking masks, my guy. I'm telling
Yeah,
you, it's fucking legit, man.
yeah. So that's gonna go down in May. So that's something to look forward to when the semester ends. Like for those of you in school.
Yeah, everyone, if you're in school and listening to this,
Yeah.
dude, fucking keep that shit on your calendar, man. That's gonna be a dope ass show. A lot of variety of different genres of music. That's what I fucking love to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Roger, anything you want to plug?
No, I think I've talked enough about I'm gonna have my first show next Wednesday. My first in the string of shows that I'm gonna be doing. My first show is gonna be next Wednesday at Cine El Rey. I'm gonna be opening up for Jade Esteban Estrada. Really funny dude. I'm gonna be opening for him. Then I'll be the week after on Tuesday. I think that's April 2nd. I'll be in New Braunfels, and the week after that, that same week I'll be in here in Laredo at Por Vida Tattoo Fest after party. I'll be doing a special guest spot alongside Larry Gadasa, Tori Poole, and a couple of other really funny comedians. So. But I'm more interested in plugging Diego's artist talk tomorrow at the Schwartz Gallery. That's gonna be tomorrow. That's Friday. What's tomorrow's date?
Friday the 22nd.
Friday the 22nd, March 22nd at that's gonna be the if you
It's
guys know
technically going to be today by the time y'all like listen to this.
Yeah,
so.
Frontera Beer Garden.
Okay, I was about to ask where
it's
set
Pan
Frontera.
American.
Okay.
It's in the Pan American Courts.
Yeah.
The building that has the "I Love You Chingo" sign on it. That is the Schwartz Gallery, and it is you need to go over there just to see the work, but also catch the artist talk. You got a little preliminary artist talk here on the podcast. Exclusive.
Yeah.
I need a soundboard.
But any closing thoughts, dude? Anything that's on your mind? What is something maybe we missed while we were talking to you? I really dig this, dude. Actually, the last episode that I was on, which was the one with Aaron and Francisco, it was like a funny one, very like lighthearted and like that kind of stuff. But I also really dig being able to like delve into like what goes on in like an artist's head, you know, and I really appreciate you being here and talking about that, and I hope it goes really well at your artist talk tomorrow.
Yeah, of course. Like again, like this is like perfect because this
Little
is like a
warm-up.
warm up because yeah, it's not often that I get like interviewed or do like these kinds of things, so it's cool. Like I'll just take it easy, you know.
yeah, man.
Yeah. Hopefully it's just as laxed as it was today.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this was pretty good, I think.
Yeah,
like
man.
sitting down like the same way I would talk with like anybody, you know.
Fuck yeah, that's exactly what we try to make happen on
Make it
every
organic.
episode. So
Yeah.
organic,
Oh,
man. Coffee drink. What? Now, well, anyways, I guess that'll wrap up today's show. I'm gonna play some Innocent Android to take us out, and also keep your fucking eyes peeled because I'm sitting on some shit that I'm not just about to say yet, but expect something crazy. and within the next week or so.
All right.
Follow us on Twitter. on Instagram, AOTBcast. If you already haven't followed us on Spotify, SoundCloud, all that kind of stuff, go
On
and check
Twitter,
that out.
if you want to go check.
We've
us
got
out,
a
I
YouTube
guess.
page now. On the YouTube page, you'll find these. For those of you who are listening and don't see like the artwork that like Diego's putting up to the camera and stuff, we upload those on YouTube, and it's just Aliens on the Border. Go ahead and check that out. Subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff, and follow Diego at Ozotso. That's Ozotso. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
And keep an eye out for his work, man. Just go and check it out, and if you can make it out to Schwartz Gallery tomorrow. Anything else you want to add, man?
No, I think that's
that covered all the fucking bases.
Covered all the bases.
All right, guys. Here's Heels and Baby Faces. Peace.
Peace.